Hello, everyone. This is Jay Dobbins, your host of the Marvel DC Universe Fan Club. We're now at episode 135, and um, this unfortunately, I have some breaking news. I mean, the goal was to talk about my reaction towards Mark Ruffalo's termination from Marvel Studios, but I'm talking about this, and I hate to say this, but unfortunately, Stan Lee, the creator of Marvel Comics, has passed away at 95. So what happened was I found this out today, like sometime in the afternoon. So my brother calls me, assuming that I have knowledge of this information. So I thought, hey, normally my brother doesn't call me all the time, but he called me to. I mean, he does call me from time to time, but not all the time. But he called me unexpectedly to see how I was doing. And I was like, hey, I'm doing fine. So he's like, yeah, I heard about your boy. And I was like, who? What are you talking about? So I asked him, what are you talking about? He answers, Stan Lee. So I was like, okay. And he's like, oh, you didn't know Stan Lee passed away? I was like, what? So I was like, wow. I was very surprised. I thought he was going to make it to 100. But as far as what I've heard, paramedics responded to Stan Lee's house in the Hollywood Hills early Monday morning for a medical emergency. He was transported to Cedar Sinai Medical Center, where he passed away shortly after. So, his family attorney uh, made a statement saying that uh, J.C. Lee and all of Stan Lee's friends and colleagues want to thank all of his fans and well wishers for their kind words and condolences. Stan was an icon in his field. His fans loved him and his desire to interact with them. He loved his fans and treated them with the same respect and love they gave him. He said, end quote. And that's what he said. Oh, in this previous statement. He also said in an additional statement that he worked tirelessly his whole life creating great characters for the world to enjoy. He wanted to inspire our imagination and for us to all use it to make the world a better place. His legacy will live on forever. Excelsior. End quote. So, um, for those who don't know he was a writer and editor at various points. Um, published both the publisher and vice president of Marvel Comics. He spent more than three-quarters of a century working in the comic book business, for which he was inducted into the Will Eisner Hall of Fame in 1994 and Jack Kirby Hall of Fame in 1995, and received the National Medal of Arts in 2008 in Hollywood, where he received his own star on the Walk of Fame in 2011. He was awarded the Producers Guild of America's Vanguard Award and was declared an official Disney legend during the studio's D23 Expo in 2017. So, if it wasn't for Stan Lee, there would never would have. Well, if it wasn't for Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, there wouldn't be a Marvel. There wouldn't be X-Men. There wouldn't be Hulk. There wouldn't be Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Thor. Um, Captain Marvel. It wouldn't be, Deadpool, X-Men, Wolverine. I mean, you name it. Matter of fact, it wouldn't even be the Fantastic Four or the Black Panther if it wasn't for these two guys. So I just want to go on record and say that, and also say that, I'm gonna be honest with you. It saddens me that he's now gone. So because I'm just like, hey, this is somebody that he this guy was a visionary, pretty much. I mean, he brought his comic book characters to life, like Disney did with Mickey Mouse. Instead of just drawing it on paper, instead of Walt Disney drawing Mickey Mouse on paper, he brought it to life. Same way Warner Brothers and when DC Comics brought their characters to life. But so he was kind of like he was like the American version of Yuki Miya Yukizaki. I don't know if I pronounced his name right, but he's the guy that created, Spirited Away. He received an Oscar for best animated film. So yeah, Miya Yukizaki, I think that's his name. But yeah, Stan Lee was like, Miya Yukizaki was a visionary in the Japanese anime field, but Stan Lee was an American. He was a visionary as well in America and all over the world. But Stan Lee was the American version of Miya Yukizaki, pretty much. They're both visionaries and they both bring something beautiful to life. So it's like a piece or a chunk of the. It's like a big chunk of Marvel is gone. Now that Stan Lee is passed, because I believe his wife passed away previously, and he survived. He's survived by his daughter. Cause I know he has a daughter, and I believe he also has grandchildren as well. So, but I know about his daughter and I know about his wife, but as far as grandchildren, I mean, there's possibility he has grandchildren. So, but yeah, he does have some kin for sure. But yeah, I remember, when I first met Stan Lee. Actually, before that, my plan was to meet Stan Lee. I thought I never had a chance, because I live in the Kansas City area, and you know, my plan was to meet Stan Lee, because I was told by my friend Kelly Rusk, shout out to him, of course, that Stan Lee would never set foot in Kansas City, and I believe that. So I took it as my responsibility to go out there and see him myself. So they was like, hey, if you want to meet Stan Lee, you gotta go out and see him yourself, So I tracked him. I've been tracking him, not stalking, but I was tracking him for weeks, pretty much. So I'm figuring out where he's gonna go, and how, So and then I found out later on that Stan Lee was going to Chicago Comic Con. This was back in 2015. So I was like, wait a minute. He's going to be at the Chicago Comic Entertainment Expo, which is C2E2 for shorts. So, I checked it. So I found ways to Google him. So I was like, okay, Google Stan Lee's schedule for appearances or appearances for comic book conventions or whatever, or events. And I found a good one, which was, of course, Chicago Comic Entertainment Expo, C2E2. Or you could just call it Chicago Comic Con, whatever. So I found that, and I was like, oh, man, Chicago. I'm like, this is perfect because, I have family live out there. So, stay with them. And so I was like, okay, I requested the days off work ahead of time to go to this event. And, of course, I brought my father along with me, since he always liked to go to comic book conventions with me, at Planet Comic Con. So I figured, okay, buy a ticket for him. So I bought the tickets, we paid for our plane tickets, but I also bought, photo op tickets for other celebrities that I plan on meeting, as well, along with Stan Lee. But so I had all that booked. My tickets were taken care of. I had my credentials, mailed to me. I had to make sure I didn't forget the credentials. Um, so I made sure that everything was, my photo op tickets, and um, my credentials from me and my dad were nestled safely in my backpack. As a matter of fact, I had to make sure that it was in there. I double checked. I even triple checked. Didn't even take it out. I was like, okay, even before we left to catch our flight, I made sure that those tickets were in the my backpack along with my photo op tickets. So everything was good. So, I was very excited when I first went to C2E2, or Chicago Comic Con, or the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo. So that was my first large comic book convention. That was the first largest comic book convention I ever went to. You know, so I mean, because I'm always going to Planet Comic Con since I'm local. Since I live in the Kansas City area, and Planet Comic Con's in Kansas City, which is the largest comic book convention in Kansas City. But yeah, I went to but yeah, when we went to Chicago Comic Con, I was very excited. I was like, oh man, this is the first largest comic book convention I ever went to. So I went there and I was like, wow, I've seen like a whole lot of. I mean, it was huge. That was a huge event. Not as huge as New York Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con. I mean, actually, New York Comic Con's like first place, and then Chicago Comic Con is like third place, and then the San Diego Comic Con is like the second largest comic book convention in the U.S. venue wise, of course, but the most popular. But yeah, anyway, back to C2E2. So when I go out there, I'm like, okay, I bought comic books. I bought comic books from artists I never even heard of, man. So now and these are superheroes I wasn't even familiar with. And I was like, oh man, so yeah, I've had a whole lot of comic books and hardback covers. I definitely did not leave that place empty-handed. So, but yeah, but I was in the line for Stan Lee. Luckily, I booked a photo op with him on a Friday instead of, Saturday or Sunday or whatever, because Friday was like the least busy. It was dead but busy at the same time, but it wasn't a whole lot of people. Now Saturday, however, oh man, it would have been crazy. So, but when I saw him Friday, which was I think on of it was in April of 2015, I believe. So, it was on a Friday, and it was dead, but the line for Stan Lee was still long. So I was waiting there for a while. So I was thinking, I was pretty much nervous, because I was like, oh man, my photo op for Stan Lee is at this time, but he was still signing autographs. So I was in an autograph line at the time. So the line was long, so I waited a while, and he was still signing autographs. And then as soon as it was my turn, I give him a Spider-Man hardback cover. So I'm just like, okay. So, I was like, wow. So I was pretty happy, and nervous at the same time. So, it was the Amazing Spider-Man: A Brand New Day. That's what the graphic novel was called. So he looks at it. So what I do is he is like, okay. He didn't know where to sign. He didn't know where to sign in the front or the back. I mean, the front or the inside cover of the book. So he asked me, where would you like for me to sign? And I answer, oh, right in the front, on the front cover. So as he was signing it, I asked him if he could make it out to me. So then his assistant says, well, he can only sign his name. So Stan Lee says, sorry. But then I'm like, no, don't be. I'm just honored to you. I'm just honored to meet you. So he says, Well, thank you. I appreciate that, because I wanted to show him that I was very grateful that he was actually signing it, even though he didn't make it out to me. So, I mean, I was very grateful that he signed it. Because not every day you get to meet the Stan Lee, the guy who created all of it, the guy who created Marvel. So, very grateful. And also, I was like, wow. So, and I just, I mean, it's still, here with me to this very day. So, I'm trying to keep it in the best condition possible since he did use a permanent marker. Uh, Also, so after I got that one, he uh he also signed. He also has a. I was also in line for the photo op, so I was waiting in line for a while for that, and it was long too. So then he had a little. I guess one of the staff was driving him through a cart, and he was like, and everybody, they see him go by, and they was like, woo! So then, as I'm in line, he's like, I'm in next to, I'm in line, and and then he's getting his photo ops, and done with the other fans, and then he's like, okay, he sees me, and he's like, oh, hello, because he saw me from before. He's like, hey, he's like, I remember you. I just signed your book. He's like, hey, so I tell him, hey, I gotta do both. I gotta do the autograph and do the. I was like, hey, I gotta do the autograph and I gotta do the photo op. Gotta have both, not one or the other. Shoot, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, the autograph was expensive too. It was like, I think it was like $60 for autograph and then $80 for the photo op, pretty much. So, but that was a good deal in Chicago Comic Con. So I got both of them. I was very excited. So I'm gonna frame that picture, both of them rather, and I'll explain what I meant by both. So as as I also okay, but yeah, as I also said, well, no, okay. Also, not only did I see Stan Lee at Chicago Comic Con, I also went. He was also coming by Planet Comic Con, which is the local one I always go to in Kansas City. So I found out a few months ahead of time that Stan Lee was coming to Planet Comic Con. I was like, what? So I was like, wow. I'm like, if I had known if I thought he was, coming here, I wouldn't have gone to Chicago. But then I was like, you know what? Hey, get a second one in. So, um, so here's like my friend. So I was thinking, okay, it's not just me going to be doing a photo op. It's going to be my friend Regina. Regina Moore. Shout out to Regina. Hi. Okay, so let's talk about her. Okay, I met her back in 2013, I think. Well, we've been friends since then. So, I'll say 5 years now. But she knew I was like she found out that I was interested in comics and stuff like that. We friended each other on Facebook, and I remember when she bought me some comic books for free comic book day. Never asked her to do it, but she always did it. In return, I always treated her to movies. But then I found out that Stan Lee was headed to Planet Comic Con. So I thought, okay, this would be a perfect gift for my friend Regina. So she was always excited. I mean, she was excited, to meet Stan Lee, and she she would always see the Marvel movies with me. I would watch the Marvel movies twice. One with my dad, and then the second time with her. You know, so we did that, and then also, so I thought, okay, I'll take her to this, and she was pretty much on board. So I bought some VIP passes, so a photo op for the photo op and autograph. So that's what the VIP pass was. That was the special. Um, oh, and I want to thank Chris Jackson for that. So shout out to you, Chris Jackson. And Chris Jackson is the promoter of Planet Comic Con. So thought I'd give him a shout out. So, but yeah, he helped me with the VIP pad. They were sold out, so he kind of created one. Kind of squeezed me in for that little VIP um, deal. So I was very happy and wanted to thank you, Chris, again. So I was very happy for that. And I remember when it was time for us for a little photo op. We got the photo op first. So photo op was enough for, instead of buying 2 VIP passes, it was the photo op. You can only have 4 additional people to take a picture with Stan Lee. So I'll figure, okay, save money on that. So it was 2 of us. But the autograph, however, was for 1 person, which was me. So when what I did was I brought the picture from the first photo op from Chicago, and then he said, so when we were next in line, I let Regina go first and talk, let her speak to him for a little bit, and he saw, I can't remember what she called him, but I think it was a character from Captain America. I think she called him Captain Charisma or something like that. And then I can't remember what he said to her afterwards. But yeah, but he did speak to her. But he did speak to her. So, and then when he saw me, I showed him a picture from Chicago Comic Con of me and him. He asked, when was this taken? And I told him. So I answered Chicago Comic Con about a year ago. So this was in 2016 when I did my second photo op, and then Chicago Comic Con was it 2015 when I took the first photo op. So he was like, oh, because of course you don't expect him to remember, because he meets a lot of people, he meets millions of people. So, but yeah, anyway, so I tell him, that hey, this was taken, this about a month ago at Chicago Comic Con. So, we pose and I have my picture out from the previous convention with me and him, of course. And what the goal was, instead of doing the same pose I did before, I just held a picture. That way, have a picture inside of another picture. And of course, Regina was all happy, everything like that. So, he didn't shake hands, but we just gave him a pound, because the germs, stuff like that. He didn't want to catch anybody's germs. So, I was very happy. And then we did the VIP thing for the autograph. So those who had a VIP pass went first, same as the photo op. So when I was next, I had him sign my X-Force comic book that featured Deadpool. I guess in the 2016 Marvel Universe, I think Deadpool was part of the X-Force. So I had an X-Force comic book that Deadpool was in, and I had him sign that. Then I bought another collection of those X-Force comic books that featured Deadpool. So previous issues. Can't remember how many, but one of them is signed by Stan Lee. So, and then he says, so after he signs it, I say thank you. And he's like, oh, he says, we are aimed to please. We are aimed to please. And he winked at me. And then of course, Regina says thank you. So I was like, oh man, I got 2 autographs from Stan Lee and 2 photo ops. So I was very happy about that. So that was on a Friday, of course. And then Saturday, I got other photo ops from other celebrities as well. Also, probably about some T-shirts and other comic books too. So I didn't leave empty-handed. I never leave convention empty-handed, even if it's a free item. But still. But so then my friend, this was a woman that I was dating a couple of years ago. Asia Route. You guys don't know her though, but I'm pretty sure some people in Kansas City do. Shout out to Asia. Okay. So then we were, luckily there was a delay, so she I bought a ticket for her, So we were waiting in line, and she was the last person in line. So I wanted to see the interaction between those two. So of course, she's all looking nice, makeup and everything like got her hair looking good and the makeup and everything like that. You even got the eyeshadow. So then, yeah, she was scented. She did smell nice. So I ain't gonna lie about that. So then okay, so she's last in line, and he says, well, actually, Stanley's assistant says, "Hey, Stan, Christmas came earlier this year," and she's all smiling and everything, and he's like, "Hey," has his arms out, ready to hug her. So then, oh my God, you should see the picture though. It's pretty funny. Um, so then, of course, they smile and everything like that, and then he has his arm around her. So I'm like, okay, no big deal. I mean, he's had his arm around her waist, so didn't have a problem with that. I'm like, hey, Stanley. I was like, let him enjoy himself. So then so after the shoot's done, he has his arms out ready to hug her again. I'm just like, wow, you got two hugs in. So, I didn't go like, hey, Stan, that's my date. I didn't do that. I was cool about it. I wasn't jealous. I was just very surprised to see Stanley. Cause I ain't never seen I ain't never seen a man in his 90s that happy. I mean, he was pretty much cheesing and everything. You should see the picture. But anyway, so we're about to get her. So we were pretty much trying to get our pictures printed, or her picture printed. And the people who were printing the pictures were, they say that he's like, oh wow, Stan Lee wasn't like that with anybody. And I was like, what? I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. I mean, I ain't never seen him like that with any of the women. I was like, wow, because I mean, if you see that picture, he was pretty happy. I was like, wow. I mean, he had a bigger smile than he would in other pictures that I've seen. Other photo. I mean, I've seen other photo ops pictures that he took with some people I know, and they were like, and he wasn't even smiling that big. I mean, he was cheesing when he took a picture with Asia. I was like, wow. So, I mean, we were talking about that too, and she was pretty heartbroken and sad about it, along with my friend Regina. They both were. So when I told them the news, so me and Asia did talk about the time when she met him, and she's like, hey, that was epic, man. She's like, oh man, he was cool. I was like, yeah. So, and I kind of reminded her. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I was like, didn't she? I'm like, didn't he hug you twice? He's like, yep. I was like, thought so. Yeah. So we'll be sharing that memory forever. Me, Regina, and Asia. So, but anyway, it's gonna be a while to get over this, because I mean, we lost a huge icon in the Marvel comic universe. Not just first it was Jack Kirby. Now it's Stan Lee. So it's gonna be a while, for us to get over that. I don't think, you know, I mean, that's one of the most painful memories of, besides the mass shootings that have been going on. This is it's also one of the most, you know, emotional situations that we've been in so far. Thinking about the families of the loved ones who have passed in the mass shootings. I mean, yeah, the loved ones of the victims. Sorry. You know, the loved ones of the victims who had passed away. So, but just wanted to make sure I worded that correctly. Um, you got that, and then I mean, it's been crazy. Now we got a legend. Now we lost a legend. One of the most historical figures in the comic book universe. You um, but like I said, I plan on having a panel next month with my cousin CJ and my brother John. Um, and I'm going to ask them, about how they felt when, when they found out that Stanley, passed. So we're going to be talking about that again with the panel though, because I want to hear from them. I want you guys to hear from them about how they felt. So, um, but in closing, oh, and by the way, before Stanley he had passed, he had finished his cameo for Avengers 4, and I think he also did a cameo in Captain Marvel and possibly for Spider-Man Far From Home. So, you know, at least, like I said, so, we'll still be able to see some more Stanley cameos, though, for sure. Um, but yeah, so I also want to close by saying that, you know, after finding out the news from the unfortunate news from my brother, I was shocked and I was very shocked and heartbroken about it. But um, I also want to say, in closing, that Marvel will never be the same without Stanley. He was a man I admired and grew up on. He was a man of creativity and vision. Not only did he bring his vision to life, he created a world that appealed to everyone. Even though I only met him twice, I will surely miss him, and he will always and forever be in our hearts. So my thoughts and prayers go out to his family, and as I once said years ago, that legends will never die because their work lasts forever. So rest in peace, Stan Lee. You will be missed. So that concludes this breaking news report. Feel free to visit us and like us on Facebook. We are available on iTunes and the Google Play Music app.